Hey guys, welcome back to Beyond Dafeet. My name's Josh. In today's video, we're going to be doing a head-to-head versus against the Saucony Triumph 18 against the Hoka One One Bondi 7. Two of your max cushion shoes on the market right now when it comes to running. You got a ton of cushioning under both shoes, and overall, if you want that really soft plush ride from the start of your run all the way to the end, whether you're doing 5k, a full marathon, or even if you're not knowing how many k's you're doing but you just want something really soft and plush under the foot, either one of these two will be really good for you. But to break it down a little bit, we're going to do a comparisons video so you know which one you should be picking up personally. And yeah, let's jump into it. First off, starting with the feel of both shoes. In terms of the Hoka Bondi 7, we're looking more at that kind of rocker sole. So when you heel strike in the shoe, it does feel like it rocks you forward as opposed to the shoe flexing in the middle. It's quite a stable meta rocker sole running underneath that is really plush and soft at the same time. So you do sink into the shoe quite nicely, not as much as a Saucony, but with the Bondi, with that rocker sole, it does take a lot of next day leg fatigue out, or a lot of jarring out of the body in general. So if you're someone who has any kind of Achilles tendonitis or tendinopathy or any knee, hip, back pain, and you want something that is going to take a lot of jarring out of the step, the Bondi does do it really well. With that rocker sole, pretty much you get that feeling that you rock forward. Your next transition is quite easy. If you're running a little bit slower in the shoe, it will help you get onto your next step as well. Same time, you can pick up the pace a little bit in it. However, you're not going to be able to achieve any kind of tempo workout in this shoe because of how much stack height it has underneath the foot. And also just the ridiculous amount of cushioning under the foot. It does feel really comfy underneath, but as a result, you don't get as much back as you put in. But with the rocker sole, you can still get onto your next step efficient enough. Not as efficient as a lot of other shoes on the market, but I mean, yeah, with the amount of cushioning you get out of it, it's just that nice slug around shoe. You can do a lot of K's in, and it does feel really comfy up underneath. In terms of your feel in your Triumph, this shoe is really soft. Initially when you put it on, the upper feels soft, it wraps around the foot really nicely, and your cushioning system underneath would probably be, in my opinion, the softest in 2020 so far. It just feels really squishy, like you put your heel down on it and you sink right into it, and same, it does give you that nice little bit back. With that Power Run Plus midsole they got going all the way through the shoe, there's a lot of it, so there is a ton of cushioning there, and with that 8mm drop, it is enough to kind of get you onto your next step as well. Doesn't have near as much of a rocker sole on it. Does have a slight bevel at the heel, so if you're someone who comes down on the heel quite hard, you're not going to be chunking it away too much. It still does transition nicely. Overall though, your biggest difference in your midsole aspects between these two is your flexibility. So this shoe here is very flexible in comparison to the Bondi, where your Bondi is going to feel a lot more rigid. So if you're someone who wants that max cushion shoe but you do have that moment of instability, or you do feel like you pronate a little bit, although these are both neutral shoes, if you need something a little bit more stable, your Bondi is going to be the way to go. If you're someone who has quite a high arch or a rigid foot, the Bondi may even irritate you a little bit, as it can kind of push you back in or just kind of straighten you up. I found that for myself. Got a little bit of burning on the outside of the ankles, but however, I'm quite unfit, so it could have just been that as well. But if you're someone who needs your foot to kind of flex in the shoe and you want that more flexible feel overall, your Triumph will be your way to go on this guy. In terms of your breathability, I would say your Bondis are going to breathe a lot better. Your Triumph, it is a very padded upper, very padded heel counter and tongue, so as a result the shoe is going to be a little bit more warm. With last season's model, a lot of people did say it got too hot, especially in humid climates. This one's a better version of it, so it does breathe a little bit better, but however, in comparison to other shoes on the market right now, it is still going to be a warmer shoe. So biggest thing's probably making sure you got a nice temperature controlled sock on, and that will help you out a little bit as well. One thing to note between these two shoes, the Bondi does have that bit of a bucket seat as well, so you sit into the midsole a lot. Looking at them side by side, the Bondi does look like it has more under it. However, your foot actually sits in that midsole a little bit more, so I'm pretty sure your stack height in your Triumph is actually a little bit more. Moving on to a bit more of your technical stuff. With your outsoles in both shoes, you've got a ton of rubber under both, so I do think you're going to be pushing that 1000 Ks out of them. I know we say that quite often, but these two shoes are very durable under the foot. If anything, your midsoles are probably going to collapse before your outsole does. So in terms of the rubber underneath, it is very well placed. With your Bondis, a lot of people, if they do wear them out, it will just be kind of on this heel area. If they do heel strike a little bit more, with the Triumphs, yeah, it's going to be very difficult to run through either of these outsoles. Nice and grippy in the wet in both. Did go for a run in the Bondi when there was a bit of moisture on the ground, and it stuck to the ground quite nicely, and I do think the Triumph's going to be the same. With your midsole components in both shoes, it's got that stock standard EVA cushioning by Hoka, but with all the technology that goes into it, it's more so in the rocker sole and just the idea from getting you from heel to toe and onto the next step quite efficiently. So they don't do anything too fancy with the midsole itself. It is quite standard, but however, with that rocker sole, it works well. Whereas the Triumph use that Power Run Plus, so that thermoplastic bead in it. We've said it a couple times, but it doesn't get affected by temperature. So in terms of your durability of the midsole component itself, your Triumph will last slightly longer, just because that cushioning isn't going to get affected by any temperatures. If you're in a hot climate or a cold climate, it's not going to get too sloppy or too firm. So you can't really go wrong with the Triumph's midsole. Same with the Bondis. It's just, technology wise, the Triumph does have a little bit more in it. Moving on to the uppers in both shoes, in terms of the lockdown, I would say your heel lockdown in the Bondi does feel a little bit better. You do sit a little bit deeper into the shoe, and overall the shoe just wraps around the back of the foot really nicely. Same with your midfoot, and there's a ton of depth throughout the forefoot area as well. So if you're someone who does want a little bit more room around the toes, or can get a little bit irritated with any kind of arthritis or just bunions or things like that, this shoe does fit fairly roomy, but provides that nice midfoot lockdown with this 3D engineering they got going on. So overall, it's a really comfy fit. It does come in some wider widths as well, so if you're someone who wants a wider fitting shoe, it will work well. In your standard width, I mean, in my opinion, it kind of fits half a size big, but it's not too sloppy out. With your Triumph, it definitely does fit half a size big. With that nice padded upper, it does wrap around the heel and the midfoot really nicely. Your cushion tongue, as well as that collar wrapping around the back, does give you that nice plush feel all the way through the shoe. It does fit half a size, even almost a full size big. So if you are going to buy this guy, make sure you try it on in store. Personally, I put a 9 on my foot, and it did feel quite roomy in there. So yeah, I'd definitely go down at least that half size in this one. In terms of your depth in the shoe, I would say again, your forefoot area does have a little bit more room to move, where your midfoot and your heel locks you in really well. Bang for buck between both shoes, I would lean you towards your Triumph, as you're looking at 230, where your Bondis are going to be that 270. So much higher price point for a very similar max cushion shoe. However, if you're someone who does want to rock a sole and take that little bit extra jarring out of the body, the Bondis do work well with that. Some people put the rocker sole on and they really love it. Other people just like that max cushion shoe that feels a little bit more traditional. In that case, I'd lean towards your Triumph, but if you want that new rocker sole feel, lean towards your Hoka. That's about it. Till next time, smash that like button, hit the subscribe. Yeah, catch you later.